Now I plan to show you guys why I believe the food that was cooked on the two different units, why the food from the grill dome came out more moist every time, and why the food looked a little darker on this. I'm not a big believer in magic, so just saying that it did doesn't really cut it for me. So I'd like to show you guys some of the things that I found once I got into, studying these two units to see where the differences were. And one of the first things I'm going to show you guys is, as you can see, the two units are relatively the same height, and therefore the same depth, which is right at about 34 inches tall, 33, 34, somewhere in there. Okay, so in a little while I'm going to zoom you in and show you that one of the major things is the difference in the height between the bottom of the firebox in the two units and where the grate is, and therefore how close and or far away your food is from the direct heat or the flame that might be in here. And so that does play a big role in especially the darkening of the outside of the skin. So like I said, in just a second we'll zoom in and I'll show you what that looks like. The other thing is, this unit being thicker than this unit in ceramic, and this is sort of in theory, I plan to try to prove it in a second with an infrared thermometer. I believe that this will hold in more moisture and more heat due to the excess of ceramic. And we'll find that out in a second. Like I said, I'm going to get them both fired up. We'll get them both to about 500, 550 degrees while they're completely sealed. And I'll take an infrared thermometer to shine to the outside of it and see what the temperature is on the outside of the unit versus the inside to see how much heat loss is coming from each unit. We're measuring the distance between the bottom fire grate and the very top of the cooking grate. We're going to start out with the big green egg. And I'm going to run the tape all the way down to the bottom of the fire grate. And then to the top of the cooking grate, and I'll zoom in where you guys can see this, you have 10 1/4 inches. Okay, now we will do the grill dome. And from the bottom or the fire grate up to the top of the food grate, I'll get you a zoom in here. You have 11 1/4 inches, which is actually, from where the food will be sitting, is actually a pretty big difference. The 1 inch difference between the two cooking grates will definitely have an outside cooking difference. The outside of, depending on which product you're using. What I'd like to show right now is what type of heat retention the two units have. So we'll do like I usually do around here to try to keep everything as scientific as possible. I have 2 pounds of coals for the big green egg and 2 pounds of coals for the grill dome, and then 2 quick lights. And I'm going to go ahead and weigh them in just a second. And once we get everything up to temp, I'm going to use a high temperature infrared thermometer to measure the outside of the units. I've already calibrated the 2 thermometers that are set up that go inside of the 2 units to show where the temp is on the inside. I'll be using the infrared thermometer to look at the temperature for the outside. Turn the scale on. Okay, one from the grill dome. 2 pounds exactly. And for the big green egg, 2 pounds exactly. Get the coals in there. Put the coals in the grill dome. I'll put in 2 quick lights. Put in the 2 quick lights for the big green egg. Get both units lit. Okay, now as I said, I'm going to let these two units get up to about 500, 550, nice and stable, and then we will come back and take some outside temperature readings to see what type of heat retention and or loss is going on with each of the two units. I've had both units holding steady now at 550 for about 15 or 20 minutes. And I'm going to start out, I'm at the big green egg. You can see the thermometer for the interior temp is at about 550. I'm going to back out a little bit so that I can show you the temp on the infrared thermometer. That ought to be good enough. As you can see, the big green egg's exterior temperature is about 255 when the interior temperature is at 550. So now we'll go over here to the grill dome. Let me zoom in on the thermometer. The interior temp is a little bit above, it's a hair above 550. It's right at 550. I'm going to back out some to show you the infrared thermometer. As you can see, it's about 215 with the inside being at about 550, 560. So that's a nice difference between the two. If you see the, as I was saying, the heat loss from one unit in particular will make the cooking time a whole lot different. All right, now that we know that there's a 40-degree difference of temperatures on the outside of the units, I'd like to find out what the actual temperature on the cooking grate is. So I took two identical pots and put one inside of each of the units, and now we're going to test them with the infrared thermometer as well. Big green egg. Let's see. We'll say right at 280. And you're looking at about 295-ish. So about 15 degrees difference. At the beginning of the day today, I set out to try to figure out how come most of my food cooked on the grill dome came out more moist or weighed more than the food that I cooked on the green egg, as well as why some of the food was darker on one unit than the other. I'm fairly satisfied with the scientific methods we've used today. I believe there being an inch difference between where the fire grate is and where the cooking grate is has definitely something to do with the color that your food will come out. And I believe a 40-degree difference of heat loss coming out of or coming through this unit versus this unit also makes a large difference. I mean, if it were 10 or 20, 15 degrees, somewhere in that ballpark, it may not make as much of a difference, but 40 degrees while holding 550, 560 is a fair amount of temperature, and therefore BTUs to be coming through, to be losing through the unit basically. So I also would hypothesize that the same amount of fuel would last longer in this unit due to lack of loss, but that would be even more difficult to prove. So for today, we'll just have to go with the 40 degrees and the 1-inch difference on the cooking grate. Hope you've enjoyed, and I hope it was intellectually stimulating for you to figure out why which one cooks a certain way. Remember, at Shopper's Choice and BarbecueGuys.com, we smoke the competition.